Okay, so Spiral from the Book of Saw, not Saw 9. So Spiral is a new movie directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who he previously directed some of the Saw movies in the past. And this one involves Chris Rock, and it's not necessarily a sequel, not necessarily a spin-off. It's a movie that takes place in the same universe, so I don't know. So Spiral follows Chris Rock. He plays this detective who basically gets all these messages from this new Jigsaw-inspired copycat killer who's now killing various police officers. And Chris Rock must figure out how to stop him once and for all. And, I wasn't really looking forward to this movie, mainly because I have never seen a Saw movie in my life. Yeah, that's right. Grew up in a very strict household. And that kind of stuff is a no-no. So, and the trailers never really interested me. I kind of keep forgetting that Saw was a thing. Everyone kept making jokes when those movies were out. When those movies were coming out, a lot of people were making jokes saying, "Oh, of course there's going to be another Saw movie." Every year there's a new Saw movie, and then they just stopped, and then they came back for a bit, then they went away. Then it's back with this new direction involving Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. Never thought they would appear in a Saw movie, but here we are. So I was not really looking forward to this. I kind of kept forgetting it was a thing. It was going to happen. And then, pretty much everything with last year was supposed to come out last year. And I just forgot. I just didn't care. And, I really should, I shouldn't just go into things blind anymore. I should just stop that. So, what I think of Spiral, I don't know. I didn't really care for it too much. I didn't hate it by any means, but I do have a few issues. Don't worry, there aren't any spoilers if you really care about the plot of this movie. Okay. So, the one thing I do like about this is the interesting twist that they have with this movie. Even though it was made in 2019, it feels like it was kind of made in response to some things that happened last year. And I kind of like the interesting direction it takes with the commentary about, police reform and, the difference between, what makes a good cop and what makes a bad cop. I do think that whole thing is very interesting, and I do think it's, mostly well handled. Well, not really well handled when you see the stuff that's in this movie. The acting overall is fine. It never really blew me away by any means, but it was fine. Chris Rock, at times he does his stand-up thing, like his first scene, he's just doing this big stand-up bit about Forrest Gump, which, as someone who loves Forrest Gump, I thought that bit was hilarious, but, afterwards, he's mostly, doing a dramatic role throughout this entire movie, and he's fine in the role. He's mostly dealing with, grief, and not necessarily grief, but more his issues with his dad and issues with his job, and it never really feels like it goes all the way with that, unfortunately. As far as, the actual traps, because, that's what people really like about this franchise, they're interesting, and they kind of correspond with, how some of these corrupt cops are. Oh, you lied a lot, so we're going to trap your tongue. And it's okay, that's creative enough, I guess. And I don't know if you can tell this, but I can be a little squeamish at times, so I don't know why I thought it'd be a good idea to go see Spiral, even though I'm squeamish. I need help. I really do. So, and those traps are interesting enough. And, when things happen, when people die, I had to look away. It was just, So I guess it did its job if I'm not looking. So, does that count? I don't know. As far as what I didn't like, the movie relies on jump scares a little too much. It kind of annoyed me throughout the entire movie. Not as much as it did in, say, The Unholy a few weeks ago, which I thought was worse with the jump scares. But they never really worked for me. And again, the acting is fine overall from everyone. It's just, there's never really enough depth from these characters. And I know I feel weird asking for deep, three-dimensional characters in a Saw movie, but, I do think it's a little stylish without really any substance. There are times when the editing goes by really fast, they kind of sped up the footage or whatever. And at times it works, during the trap scenes, that's intense. But there are some scenes where it randomly happens, and I just thought it didn't work. Also, there's I don't know why. I just thought there was like a weird supernatural moment in this movie where it's like the door just randomly closed because one of the corrupt cops got trapped in there. And when did this become a supernatural thing? It's never explained. Oh well. It has a lot of really good, interesting ideas. Again, the whole angle of this movie I think is very fascinating, but it just don't really develop it too much because, again, it's a Saw movie, so what is development after all? And as far as the twist, the ending, I didn't care for it. It reminded me too much. Now, even though I've never seen the first Saw movie, I know how it ends. Obviously, in the first one, I know how the first Saw ends. That's all I'll say. And the ending felt a little bit too much like that ending, and it just felt like they did it because, it's a Saw movie. And I feel like if this did it like, say, Split, where it was like, the end of Split, where it's like, oh, this movie takes place in the same universe as Unbreakable, and it kind of got me more interested in what's going to happen next. I feel like it would have been better if that was the angle to this movie as well. Like, it's this crazy, inspired by Saw movie, but then it turns out, oh, it's actually a Saw sequel or Saw spinoff or whatever. But the twist is just kind of just lifted from that movie and just put in here. And also, it doesn't really make sense when you really think about it. I'm not going to spoil it, but at least in the first one, you know that there's kind of no way out. But in this one, I'm just like there's so many ways out of this. Like, this is easily fixable. Like, why are they freaking out? Like, I don't know. So, Spiral, if you're a fan of Saw, you're probably going to enjoy this movie, and my words aren't really going to dissuade you from seeing it. But, I don't know, maybe I should have seen the other Saw movies before seeing this one, so I can, kind of get, a better feel of this franchise. So, I can't really say that I like this movie. It does have cool ideas, the performances are fine, but there's just a lot about this movie that I'm just like, how and why? And again, should I really be asking about logic and depth in a movie where people get their body parts ripped off? Probably not. I'm going to give Spiral, I'll give Spiral 1.5 out of 4 stars. Stream it. If you're a fan of the franchise, you're probably going to like this movie. If not, it's probably just going to be the same old, I guess. Again, coming from someone who's never seen a Saw movie before. So did you see Spiral? What did you think of it? Do you like the Saw movies? Comment down below. Subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe. Yes. Stop.